The Zephyrian fleet had controlled the Kepler sector for 3 centuries. Their crystalline ships gleamed like deadly jewels against the star-speckled void, each vessel a testament to their technological supremacy. Admiral Kethavar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominants watching the final phase of their conquest unfold. The human colony world of Haven 7 hung before them like a blue-green marble, defenseless and ripe for harvesting. "Admiral," his tactical officer chittered through his translator, "the human settlement has fewer than 10,000 inhabitants. Their defensive grid is primitive, chemical rockets and kinetic barriers. We could take the world without firing a shot." Kethavar's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Humans had always been the galaxy's greatest disappointment. When first contact was made 50 years ago, the Galactic Consortium had expected something remarkable from the species that had somehow achieved faster-than-light travel despite their backward technology. Instead, they found a fragmented civilization, barely holding together a few dozen scattered colonies, armed with weapons that other races had abandoned millennia ago. "Begin the bombardment," Kethavar commanded. "Target their communications array first. I want them to know they're alone." The crystalline warships began their descent, energy weapons charging with an ominous hum that resonated through the fleet. On Haven 7's surface, evacuation sirens wailed as colonists scrambled for underground bunkers that everyone knew would only delay the inevitable. In the colony's command center, Jack Morrison stared at the tactical display with grim determination. The 28-year-old defense coordinator had served in Earth's Navy before volunteering for frontier duty, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Beside him, Communications Officer Daisy Chen worked frantically at her console, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "Any word from Earth Fleet Command?" Jack asked, though he already knew the answer. Daisy shook her head, her dark hair catching the red glow of emergency lighting. "Nothing. The nearest Earth patrol is 3 weeks away at maximum burn. We're on our own." Jack clenched his fists. The Zephyrians had chosen their timing perfectly, hitting during the patrol rotation gap when Haven 7 was most vulnerable. It was a textbook alien strategy. Strike fast, harvest resources, move on before human reinforcements could arrive. Above them, the alien fleet had arranged itself in perfect formation, their ships' weapons glowing like malevolent stars. Kethavar allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. Another human world would fall today, and the consortium would add Haven 7's rare earth minerals to their ever-expanding treasury. "Admiral," his sensor operator suddenly called out, his voice tight with confusion, "I'm detecting an anomalous reading at grid reference 77 Alpha." Kethavar turned toward the display, expecting to see some desperate human trick, perhaps a hidden defense satellite or a civilian ship attempting to ram one of his vessels. Instead, he saw empty space. Then reality folded. The distortion started as a barely visible shimmer, like heat waves rising from sun-baked stone. Space itself seemed to bend and twist, creating a wound in the fabric of the universe. Energy readings spiked beyond the Zephyrian sensor's ability to measure, and for one terrifying moment, every electronic system in the fleet registered impossible values. From the impossible tear in spacetime emerged a ship that shouldn't exist. It was massive, easily 3 times the length of Kethavar's flagship and built like a fortress of dark metal and angular edges. Where Zephyrian vessels curved and flowed like organic sculptures, this ship was all brutal functionality and overwhelming firepower. Gun ports lined its hull like the eyes of some mechanical predator, and energy readings suggested weapon systems that dwarfed anything in the Galactic Consortium's arsenal. On Haven 7, Jack and Daisy stared at their displays in shock. "What the hell is that?" Jack whispered. Daisy's hands flew over her console, running every identification protocol in their database. It's not showing up in any registry. But Jack, look at the hull markings." Jack leaned closer, his heart suddenly racing. Emblazoned on the ship's dark hull in bold white letters were symbols that made his chest swell with impossible hope. Terran Defense Force, TDF Defiant. "That's impossible," he breathed. "Earth doesn't have ships like that." In the Zephyrian fleet, panic was setting in. The unknown vessel hung in space like a promise of violence, its weapon systems already tracking multiple targets. Kethavar's tactical display painted a picture that made his blood run cold. This single ship was registering as a Class 12 threat, a rating reserved for entire battle fleets. "Sir," His communications officer reported, his voice barely controlled. "We're receiving a transmission from the unknown vessel." "Put it through." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a human face that might have been carved from granite. The man wore a uniform unlike anything in the Colonial Defense Forces, deep black with silver insignia that seemed to absorb light. His eyes held the cold certainty of someone who had seen the galaxy's darkest corners and emerged victorious. "Zephyrian fleet," the human said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "This is Captain Sarah Mitchell of the Terran Defense Force vessel Defiant. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from this system, or we will demonstrate why humanity has become the Galactic Consortium's greatest fear." Kethvar's mandibles clicked nervously. "This is Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian Hegemony. Your vessel is outnumbered 12-1. Withdraw, or be destroyed." The human captain smiled, a cold expression that never touched her eyes. "Admiral, you seem to be operating under outdated intelligence. Allow me to provide an update." The Defiant's weapon systems came online with a sound like thunder given form. Energy signatures blazed across every sensor screen, and space itself seemed to recoil from the ship's awakening fury. But it wasn't just the weapons that made Kethvar's blood freeze, it was what appeared behind the Defiant. More tiers in space-time were opening, each one disgorging another impossible human warship. The Retribution, the Vengeance, the Inevitable, names that spoke of humanity's evolution from prey to predator. Within moments, a full battle fleet had materialized from nowhere, each ship bristling with weapons that made Zephyrian technology look like children's toys. On Haven 7, Jack grabbed Daisy's hand as they watched their salvation unfold. "How long has Earth been building ships like this?" Daisy shook her head in wonder. "They haven't been building them, Jack. They've been hiding them." Captain Mitchell's voice cut across the communications channel again. "You see, Admiral, the galaxy made a critical error in judgment 50 years ago. You looked at humanity and saw weakness. Scattered colonies, primitive weapons, internal conflicts. What you failed to recognize was that we were learning. Every attack on our worlds, every consortium vessel that thought it could bully human settlements, every alien species that believed us to be easy prey, you were all teaching us." The Defiant moved forward with predatory grace, its massive bulk somehow elegant in the way that only perfectly engineered destruction could be. "We studied your weapons, reverse-engineered your technology, and improved upon it. We built these ships in secret, in hidden shipyards in the Outer Rim. We waited, and we watched, and we planned." Kethvar's fleet was already beginning to scatter, their formation breaking as panic overtook discipline. But there was nowhere to run. Human ships were appearing at every jump point, sealing off all routes of escape. The Galactic Consortium spent 5 decades underestimating humanity, Mitchell continued, her voice now carrying across all frequencies so that every ship in the system could hear. "You thought we were the galaxy's greatest disappointment. Today, you learn the truth. We are the galaxy's greatest fear because we are the species that refuses to kneel." The battle that followed lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, the Zephyrian fleet existed only as expanding clouds of debris, and the Defiant hung victorious in Haven 7's orbit. Jack and Daisy stood together on the colony's observation deck, watching the impossible sight of humanity's secret fleet. In the distance, more ships continued to emerge from folded space. Not just warships, but transports, medical vessels, construction platforms. Earth hadn't just built a military. They had built a civilization's worth of hidden strength. "What happens now?" Daisy asked. Jack smiled, feeling something he hadn't experienced in years. The certainty that humanity's age of being hunted was over. "Now the galaxy learns what it means to fear the species from nowhere. The species that turns every defeat into a lesson, every loss into strength." Above them, the Defiant began broadcasting on all frequencies, sending a message that would reach every corner of known space. "This is the Terran Defense Force. Humanity is no longer your prey. We are your equals or your nightmares. Choose wisely." The age of human weakness had ended. The age of human vengeance had begun.